Hey everyone, welcome to the main event UFC betting show. I'm your host, Minty Bets, and the superstar of this show is Wager Talk's resident UFC betting expert, Kyle Anthony. Hi, Kyle. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just got back from the gym. I did my cardio. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really good. I think I'm going to last through this show. I got enough energy. I think I'm going to make it.
Good. Don't fall asleep on us, okay? All right, guys, on our last episode, Kyle gave out 3 free plays right here on the main event and sold 2 plays on Wager Talk for his clients. He went a very profitable 4-1 that weekend, and he's 83% on Wager Talk client plays. Kyle is back to give more free plays for UFC 248, but before we get into that, we're going to briefly discuss a market look ahead on some of the upcoming fights later this month. In this market look ahead, we're going to see what betting lines Kyle likes, as well as discuss where these lines will move leading up to fight night. So our first market look ahead is one that you're eyeing, Kyle. It takes place in London, I believe, on March 21st. What fight are you interested in betting?
Well, this fight here, it's Leon Edwards versus Tyron Woodley. You got Woodley plus 135, and you've got Edwards at minus 145. And really the big thing that you're doing when you're looking at this is, and getting a good view of the market, is mostly you're going to take a look at getting a grasp of the movement and where it's going to be going. And a lot of times I think that people really just kind of look at that week. And then that's also where you're going to get the volume. You're going to get people actually going to be placing those bets. And you also want to make sure that you're getting the best number possible, because yes, you want to be, ahead of the turn and ahead of the closing number and all these things. But at the end of the day, you do need to get winners at the end of the day. But it really is going to help you cap better if you're really able to look at that. And it really overall is not going to, when you take a look at the line and there's going to be movement, maybe you're going to want to lay off that action. So in this spot here, I think a big part of it is I like Leon Edwards a lot. I think the price is good on him in this spot at minus 145. He's got good boxing. He's got good footwork, good movement. And I think the big thing with him also is that he's very underrated. I mean, a lot of people right now are looking at him, and he's not a big known name, but he's coming off 8 straight victories. His last defeat was against Kamaru Usman, who is a current champion. And that says a lot. And this guy has been asking for a championship fight repeatedly for over the last 3 or 4 fights, and he's won in pretty impressive fashion. So a lot of that, I think, right now, the reason why I think that the line is at this point is I think that it's going to be a lot of recency bias, where it's coming to Woodley just being the former champion. So in this spot here, I do like Leon Edwards here. I think that this is a good spot to bet him here. I know that a lot of times you're not really going to be able to get too much money on it, or maybe there's certain prop bets you're not going to be able to be able to bet up until fight week, but this is still, I think, a good spot to be betting Leon Edwards.
All right. Now, leading up to this fight, where do you think this line will move? Do you think Edwards will just become a huge favorite in the upcoming weeks?
Well, I think it's more to do even with the same thing like I was kind of just saying, is that Woodley is, the public loves former champions with plus money. It's just, and it doesn't mean that the former champions always are going to lose, but they just love it because it's going to be the recognizable name. And that's going to be a big part of this. But with the Woodley situation here is I hated what I saw last from Woodley when I was actually leaning Woodley over Usman when they were going to fight. And Woodley looked drained. And I'm not one to really dive into the, did he do steroids? Was he on PEDs or these kind of things? And for me, honestly, I am so against those things, regardless of if you're in sports, not in sports, or whatever it may be. I mean, if you want to do that, you should do WWE fake dance wrestling kind of thing. You can do that. Not this, or that's where washed up fighters go. Here, Woodley, in my opinion, it's kind of a situation where, he's has a rapping career now, and there's other things that he's really focused on.
He does.
And whatever you do, don't listen to it. It's terrible.
Oh, I'm going to look it up right after this. What's your favorite song?
That's the new intro. That's the new intro.
Oh, yes, I like that. Okay, next episode, guys, we're going to have Woodley's song as our intro. Is there anything you wanted to say about this fight? I'm sorry for interrupting you.
You know what? No, but this point now, honestly, though, is I bet Leon Edwards already. I already have money on him now. And I know it's far out, and a lot of people don't like doing that. A lot of people are saying, I don't like betting so far out. But to me, it's an investment. You're betting it. It's almost like you're going to be, putting money into Microsoft. You want to get a good price. And if the line moves, and if the line for me, I got it at minus 140. If it goes up, I don't bet it anymore. I think I've got a good price. I believe that money will come in on Woodley, and you may be able to get a better price. But if something was to happen, also say there's an injury report or something comes out, I then can lay off the action. I can then go and I could bet Woodley, get off some of the action, and still have money at a good price on Edwards. So there's ways to kind of play around with that, but not everybody likes doing that. But that's definitely the way that I look at that particular fight.
All right, guys, the next fight we'll discuss is a week later in Columbus, Ohio on March 28th. UFC on ESPN 8. Once again, you're capping the main event. What are your thoughts on Francis Ngannou versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik?
I think that this line, though, honestly, is way off to me. I don't like it at all. I think that right now, Ngannou should probably be over a -300, -350, somewhere up there, I do believe, because there's a lot of factors that I do like about Ngannou, and there's a lot of things I don't like about Rozenstruik. And really, to begin it, Rozenstruik is 10-0, and that's awesome. That's great. But he has fought 4 guys, and 3 of them were extremely low level. I mean, he fought Andrei Arlovsky, who is a veteran, but basically a punching bag at this point. Then you've got Junior Albini, another guy. I don't even know if he's in the UFC anymore. And also Alan Crowder, not very good, kind of a journeyman. And his most recent fight was against Overeem. And against Overeem, the thing with him was that Overeem was winning that fight. Overeem was outright winning that fight through 5 rounds. And with seconds left, Rozenstruik lands a big shot, ends the fight. So the big part of this now is that you are only going to really be seeing, and the public will probably be seeing, that knockout. And it kind of takes away what really happened in that fight. And Rozenstruik is a good kickboxer. He's good from the outside. But overall, it's going to be a very tight fight of them actually standing toe-to-toe. I think Rozenstruik is going to want to stand toe-to-toe. And without a doubt, Ngannou has great hand speed. A lot of people talk about his power. He's got one of the hardest punches to ever be thrown and recorded, one of the hardest ones, and he's got the hand speed to back that up. So I think right now at this point here, -260, 270, somewhere on that spot, I think is actually a pretty good price on Francis Ngannou.
Awesome. And where do you see this line moving in a couple weeks?
I think that with this, people will be betting Ngannou as it gets closer. And I think that a lot of it is going to be, you're looking at competition level, like I was saying. More people are going to be diving into these fights. And that's why, again, like I said earlier, that, it's good to get some exposure early on the fight and then kind of see where it goes. I don't do this with all the fights. It's not like I'm betting all of them. But when I find the right spot, I bet it. And then I like I said, treat it as an investment and see where that line is going to be moving and see if I want to add to it. And then the spot here, I think that money will come in on Francis Ngannou as the fight gets closer. I think that he's got a really great shot for an early knockout. And the big part here also is if you want to get a little bit more value come fight week, I think is definitely Ngannou via knockout. And I think this fight is not going to go 5 rounds. There's no doubt it's not going to go. I don't care who wins this fight. It's not going 5 rounds. And I really like Ngannou here. And if you want to even add more value to it, you want to go first round or second round. So you're going to get off that -280 number. You're going to probably get maybe a -150, 160 via knockout, maybe a little bit higher. But first round or second round knockout, you're going to get great price there. So I think the first or second round, I see Francis Ngannou getting that knockout. So I think it's a good spot right now to place a bet.
Wow. All righty. Now to the good stuff. This weekend's UFC event, UFC 248, taking place in my hometown of Las Vegas. In the main event, Israel Adesanya puts his middleweight title on the line against Yoel Romero. I'm sorry. These names are hard. Adesanya is coming off a second round. Don't laugh. Second round knockout win over Robert Whittaker to unify the titles, while Yoel most recently lost to a close decision to Paulo Costa. With Yoel coming off a loss and Paulo Costa hurt, does Yoel deserve this title shot?
Well, a lot of people right now are saying he doesn't, but I do believe that he does. And you really look at his last 4 fights, and he fought Robert Whittaker twice. Very close fights. The first fight was a 5-round war, and I would actually give it to Whittaker, but very close. And even the second time they fought, I actually thought Romero won that fight, and very close fight again. But he came back, knocked out Luke Rockhold, and then he came back again most recently and fought Paulo Costa, which, again, a lot of people believe that he did win that fight too, which was a very, very close fight. So very close fights overall, and he's lost basically 3 of those 4. So it doesn't look good on paper when you see the losses, but overall, I think he deserves the title shot.
All right. In this fight, wrestler versus striker bout, how do both Yoel and Adesanya match up?
Right here, though, I think the big part here is you've got 2 guys, like you're saying, wrestling versus striker, and Yoel Romero is explosive. He's able to really go, from throwing flying knees and spinning back fists, and able, has elite wrestling. There's a lot of great things to like about him. But on the other side, you've got Israel Adesanya, and you're seeing each fight, he is just continuing to elevate. He continually gets better, and the distance management is one thing that I think he has that's very similar, and everyone kind of says that he mimics Jon Jones. Very similar to that. The similar movement, similar moving around, and not only that, but he's mastered the distance management. But then on the other side, he's been able to utilize his reach. He's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage over Yoel Romero in this fight, and that's going to be astronomical. You've even seen them with the height advantage too that he has. That's very big. But the big path to victory for Yoel is definitely going to be some takedowns, and that's going to he's going to have to get that involved. And on the other side, you've got Adesanya, who is 86% takedown defense. So the path to victory and the most likely path for Yoel is going to be wrestling, some of the explosiveness, and that's going to be a big part. And also the fact that Yoel doesn't have the best cardio. So in the situation where he's going to be going far into the fight, and could he make it? Could he not make it? That could be a spot where later on he could maybe get the stoppage, or he'd be going to the decision. So I think it's very interesting to see how these two match up.
Okay, Kyle. Kind of know where you're leading. I know you have 2. So what are your plays for this main event?
So kind of the same thing I was even talking about with Ngannou. This here, I don't like to normally place a lot of bets in one fight, or kind of, parlay, prop bets and these kind of things. But here, I like Adesanya to begin with. I think the -240, it's starting to really start to tilt up now. But I think that he's going to go out there and just point him to death, work his striking. I don't see a finish. And now that's where I think that the recency bias, again, always comes in with MMA, and actually pretty much any sport. You watch a home team win, in football, and then they go on the road the next game, and everyone remembers that prime time game, and the line changes. So it kind of goes with the same thing here. And a lot of people are looking at with Adesanya. Adesanya went out, knocked down Whitaker, and then the second round knocked him out, and that's going to keep playing. In this situation here, I like this going to a distance. I think that Adesanya winning this by decision is roughly, and it's actually moved down now, but I got it at +250. It's now +200, +280, +290, somewhere in there, depending where you're shopping it at. And I think that's a great value here, because also, Yoel Romero, out of his 9 years fighting, the last 9 years, he's only been finished once. So the statistics even back up a lot of this. So I think there's a great spot there. Also, I do like the over 3.5 rounds. I think, again, it's a nice spot there where you're going to be getting roughly, some even money in there. And I think there's a great spot to place money. So there's a couple different spots that you can bet, but I pretty much took all of those across the board as some of my plays.
Nice. Wow. Okay. Lastly, before we end the show, I have to milk more out of you because our followers and our listeners love your free plays. What is one more fight you possibly like for Saturday night?
Well, the last one I like is Beneil Dariush versus Drakkar Klose. And this is a fight here where it's one of those things, if you don't do research, you really don't remember what's going on. And you go look back, and I look back at the last 3 fights, and at first, before I looked at it, I liked Klose. I thought at +150, I thought was a pretty good price. But going back and looking at everything and rewatching how Dariush fights, he has really elevated his striking. And the big part about against him was he's great on the ground, good grappler, but has no striking, unable to strike. And Klose is kind of mixed, but you've seen that Klose, very sloppy striking, doesn't keep it together very well. His combinations are not tied together, really mixing up himself, where you've got somebody like Dariush, who has really looked better. And I would have thought that Klose would have actually had the better striking. But in this, I actually think that Dariush has elevated so much. He's going to have the better striking. He's going to have the grappling. I think he's going to find a lot of spots to get him up against the cage, take him to the ground, and just win a round or two, and win on the cards. But overall, I think a -170, -160 that you're getting Dariush is great value, and I think he goes out there and gets the victory in the on the main card.
Love it. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for all of that. All right, friends, be sure to visit wagertalk.com and check out the rest of Kyle's client plays for UFC 248. Thanks for watching the main event with me, Minty Bets, and Kyle Anthony. Have a good one.